Greetings, I'm just popping in for a quickie, guys, to say hello. I saw that Catherine came out with some more glorious gowns for us to salivate over, so we'll do that in a few ticks a bit later on in the show. I was surprised that she had even more in store for us on her tour of the Caribbean. But she's back. I believe she and William arrived back today, on Sunday, here in the Kingdom, in time for Mothering Sunday, because it's Mother's Day today in England, throughout the Kingdom. I know it's celebrated different times, isn't it, throughout the world, but it's Mother's Day today. I celebrated my Mother's Day yesterday, on the Saturday, only because when I went to book luncheon for my mother and my grandmothers, this was about a week ago, everything was booked up within, I was going to say within a 10-mile radius, but to be honest, I think everywhere decent in the country is booked up by then. So some of those places were still offering the menu on the Saturday. So we went to a lovely country pub yesterday and enjoyed a nice luncheon. Well, it was mediocre actually, but with some highlights. But of course, made a fuss of Mumsy, and she enjoyed herself. And actually, we decided we're going to do that every year. Celebrate the day before Mother's Day, because it's actually quite a relief to get it over with before sort of chaos descends and there's mums all over the place and mums and flowers and celebrations everywhere. It was nice actually, and got quicker service than we would have got today, so it was a happy accident. But yeah, I do find the whole Mother's Day, Father's Day, this sort of greetings cards for everything a bit naff. I really enjoyed it when I was a kid, getting into celebratory mode. My mother loves any excuse for celebrations, anniversaries, this, that and the fourth. I get rather tired of the whole thing, I've got to tell you. Sorry to be a bit of a killjoy. It's because they come around so quickly, don't they, these celebrations? It always seems to be the same person's birthday again and again. You think, didn't I just send them off a card last week? Oh. Mr. Grumpy. But, oh well, you have to suck it up, don't you? Especially for Mother. So I did. So whether or not you're enjoying it or not, blessings to you. And I know from experience, this is the time I'll get comments from people saying, make the most of your mother while she's there, enjoy one day. I know all that. That's why I take the time to get involved. And I do cherish the moments with my parents. Don't take them for granted for a moment, and they know it. Special thanks going out to those countries that Kate and William have just visited, because I asked you to leave your comments and your opinions about their trip and what it meant to you, and you did. You responded in your hundreds, if not thousands. I was so delighted to get comments. It's amazing, in the modern world, what can be achieved, this sort of interconnectedness, which I don't always like, to be honest, but there is something rather delicious about those of you in Belize and the Bahamas and Jamaica, St. Lucia, feeling like, we're having just a conversation together almost in the same room. It's rather nice, isn't it? So I was delighted to hear from you. I'm going to read out some of those comments later. This was such a cute story. The Queen's got a buggy. They're calling it the Queen-mobile. It's a high-tech luxury golf buggy to be used at Windsor Castle. Costs around 60k. It's got all the bells and whistles, so she's going to feel very much at home with it. This is to help her ambulate around when she hasn't got that. She looks rather at home with her crook, doesn't she? Her walking cane. I think she looks rather charming and dignified with it. But she's got this buggy, and she's been seen having a quick tour around the castle. She took the corgis with her as well, because she's been missing taking a walk or two with the old corgis. I'm sure she doesn't have to bother with the pooper scooper, do you? I'm sure that's somebody else's job. The Royal Pooper Scooper. But yeah, it's a Garia, is it? A Danish manufacturer, Garia, in partnership with Mercedes-Benz, that have put these buggies together. They do about 50 miles before they need to be charged electrically. There's a heated windscreen, cup holders, brown leather seat that reclines. I don't think she'll be reclining. She likes to get about, doesn't she? And an onboard mini fridge. So all the luxuries there. 10-inch tablet next to the steering wheel. And it can be enclosed when there's inclement weather, all this kind of thing. So it's nice that these little amendments are being made. More treats from Katie's wardrobe in the Bahamas. She went bananas in yellow in this gorgeous peplum dress, in the finest silk designed by Alessandra Rich. And I saw quite a few people compare it to Diana's wardrobe, saying that she'd taken inspiration from Diana. But no, I believe it was absolutely from the Queen that she'd taken inspiration from this tour for a number of outfits, including the white lace one. She's looked back in time and taken a modern twist on various outfits that the Queen's worn on similar tours, which I think is a lovely tribute to pay. And as I told you, I'm not one for bows. I don't like bows at all, so it is what it is. There is one on this dress, but it went with this style. Of course, it went beautifully with this style and the little belt there. And I like the colour, the sort of bitter lemon there with the creamy white. And I love anything with floral patterns on anyway. I particularly like small floral prints, not so much the larger ones. But delightful and quite 80s inspired there. I love the little backward glances that the Duchess has given, and often does give with her wardrobe, but particularly on this tour, with some 70s stuff, 60s, and a little bit of 80s too. It's nice to sprinkle a little touch of nostalgia, isn't it, don't you think, over these modern looks? Very nice. Connie Hopkins, how on earth has that gorgeous woman managed to keep her figure after 3 babies? I don't think I've ever seen her look bad in anything. She does look stunning, doesn't she? I will occasionally get the comments saying she looks too thin, she looks anorexic, she needs to eat a few hamburgers. And, I'd enjoy her if she was curvy, if she was plump. I'd enjoy her at any size because she's got taste and would wear whatever she wears well. But I also love a bit of skinny as well. I think she looks divine and enviable. And I don't mind the fact that she's skinny or svelte or slim, however you want to put it, my dear. She's a hanger. What's known in the industry as a hanger. You can hang anything on her and she'll look fabulous, rather like me. So, I'm all for it. And of course, like a modern day Cinderella, we have this silver gown. Well, they've been calling it silver, but it's a sort of metallic grey, really, that reads silver under the light. But wow, another stunner. What can be said? It would be quite fun to get my playful, rather catty teeth into a few things here and there, but other than the occasional bow, what can I really criticise about what she's done on tour? It's been nothing less than a rave at every twist and turn. There's really been nothing that I haven't enjoyed that she's worn. I didn't like the hummingbird. I didn't really like the hummingbird brooch that she wore last week. To me, it looked like a crane fly from a distance, and I didn't like that. But that's really all that I could pick out. Oh, also, I'm not really a fan of when she does the centre parting. I don't like centre partings on anybody. Don't be offended. We all have loved ones in our life that have worn a centre parting at times. I just don't. It's very much in vogue at the moment to sport a centre parting. Side ones are out, but they'll be back in again. But no, they're just not my cup of tea. But a gorgeous Grecian look there for this floor-length gown. And a lovely clutch bag by Lulu Guinness in blue satin. Very chic. And designed by the couturier, Philippa Lepley, who's known for her wedding gowns. Yeah, I think she had that centre parting at the sailing regatta. Did you see that? There's lots of footage of it on YouTube if you look. She's such a sporty thing. And you think she just glides about looking elegant. But then the next minute, she's game, she's sporty, she's driven, she's competitive. She relishes all of that more than William by the look of it even. She was really getting into the groove, and she wore quite a tomboy look. Lovely little look there with the legs on display. She looked like a teenager, to be quite honest with you, dear. I mean, she didn't look like a mother of 3 in her 40s to me. Not that there would be any shame in that if she did, but so fit. And also, I noticed she was patting Big Willie quite fondly on the hind quarters there. Did you see that little tap of approval? True affection between the pair. But that sense of competition, that competitiveness, I'm sorry about this ensemble, dear. I'm trying to keep it open so you can get my lovely flash of the gold yellow there, so we still have a bit of a tropical vibe, but it keeps curling and unfurling, and I don't want to pin it back with my broochie. So you have to make do with it, ruffling and kerfuffling. But where were we? Regatta. Oh yes, the Conch. The Conch pistol. Yeah. Kate's competitive spirit moved on to swallowing what legend has is the male genitalia of the conch. And I will admit to you, as impeccable as Catherine is, I didn't care to see this moment. I've got to be honest with you. I know it's fun. I know it got headlines. I know most people will like it. But actually, I didn't find it royal. Sorry, I'm old-fashioned. I didn't want to see that. Thankfully, it is not the genitalia of the conch. It's actually part of the conch used to aid digestion. And Kate slapped it down with gusto and was seen giving the thumbs up. Apparently said it's lovely. She said that she's a little more adventurous than William. He didn't give it a go. But she's very game, isn't she? It's a colourless, slimy snack. And it's known as nature's Viagra. So I'm sure Prince William didn't need any of that, but maybe that's why he didn't risk having a go in case his delights sprang to attention when they shouldn't in the Bahamas. Who knows? But it's a delicacy of the region, the nether regions by the sound of it, and he didn't care to see it. And I really enjoyed that gorgeous pink dress, like a soft serve strawberry scoop of ice cream, but very light there, almost reading a dusky mauve in some of the twilights. Gorgeous there, the soft feel with the wedgy heels. That was on the island of Abaco in the Bahamas. And the Bahamas gave such a warm welcome. I do encourage you to look at various channels, including the channel that's called the Royal Family channel on YouTube. It's just full of amazing footage, and you've got to see William and Catherine do various speeches and thanking the Bahamian people for the rapturous welcome that they were given. And it'll help you get a sense of perspective with all this nonsense on stilts that you read in the media, because in general a fabulous time was had by all involved, and the countries were thrilled to host them as well. You know, there comes a time when, you know, as Whitney said, it can't take away my dignity. And it doesn't matter, you know, we'd all love to have the media as on board as we are with matters royal. Well, actually, that's a lie. It's good to have healthy opinions from both sides, I do think. But, you know, sometimes they try and make things appear to be rather a damp squib when they're not. But I do think it's important sometimes, as William and Catherine have exemplified throughout this tour, that no matter what life throws at you, no matter what criticism you're getting, or if you're not feeling that you're being understood, or willfully your words are being manipulated, or your actions being misread, if you're sure of yourself and your intentions and your compassion towards people and your intentions to merely be there to help and serve, then you have to block out the noise at some point, don't you? And just stay true to that. And that is what we see in Catherine and William. And it's what you don't see from many other kinds of world leaders, politicians, celebrities, anyone else in the public eye. Obviously, I'm generalizing here because there are good, true people in all of those different sectors. So I'm generalizing. But who showcases better than Catherine and William? You know, I'm touched every day by hundreds of comments from people all around the globe, certainly not just here in the kingdom, that say that they are the standard, that they are the gold standard. Not everybody in the royal family gets it right. We know that. There are some hits and misses. But thankfully, with our sovereign-to-be, especially Catherine and William, you know, they really do get it right and show the world a class which is really sorely lacking. And William exemplified that with a surprise speech where he let people know that we're here for you. We're here to serve you, not to tell you what to do. And he made it clear that, you know, if you don't want us, you don't have to have us. No one's forcing you. Which I thought was wonderfully English, actually, a wonderfully English moment. Sort of stiff upper lip. Let's just say confident in one's own capabilities and offerings without pandering and without apology. Catherine and I are committed to service. For us, that's not telling people what to do. It is about serving them and supporting them in whatever way they think best, by using the platform we are lucky to have. Its wide tours such as this reaffirm our desire to serve people of the Commonwealth and listen to communities around the world. Who the Commonwealth chooses to lead its family in the future isn't what is on my mind. He's probably got enough on his plate. He's probably hoping that he's not elected leader of the Commonwealth after Charles. But he says, what matters to us is the potential the Commonwealth family has to create a better future for the people who form it and our commitment to serve and support as best we can. So if you didn't know, Her Majesty leads the Commonwealth, but in 2018 it was decided by all the leaders across the Commonwealth, because leading the Commonwealth, you see, isn't a hereditary role. It's an honorary position that is decided between them, and it was decided that Prince Charles would take over as leader when Her Majesty dies. But there is a suggestion that the leaders will sort of rotate between Commonwealth leaders in future. And I got to tell you, after the last few years and the mood of the last few years, I actually think it's a shame that Prince Charles is going to take over, which might surprise you, but I think it would be healthy to see leaders from other Commonwealth nations take the helm, so that it doesn't look like it's solely the domain of kings and queens from the United Kingdom, that it's more shared out. But, these are huge responsibilities, so this is probably why people aren't reluctant to take them on. But, Charles will have enough on his plate, so will William, so I say, share that leading role out, and let's see some more flavours from the Commonwealth take the reins there. But, yes, the topic of Lisa Hanna, the MP in Jamaica, who's calling for reparations and apologies. I told you that I'd take her at her word when she says that she wasn't intending to snub Catherine by that clip that was taken of her. I said that I give her the benefit of the doubt, and I knew that would raise some of your heckles, and some of you would agree with me, and that's fine. I stand by it, and I do actually genuinely believe her that it was a nonsense on stilts. I don't believe that she intentionally went out to snub Catherine at all. I watched her on her Instagram, and she, I might not agree with a lot of the things that she wants or her position, let's put it that way. I might not have too much in agreement with her there. There's no doubting that she's very elegant, but there's no doubting that she's a very elegant woman, articulate, this sort of golden, syrupy voice, which is lovely to listen to, sort of mellifluous there, with the sort of lilt in her voice. And there's something very seductive about her. So, she seems like a powerful force to be reckoned with. But I believed her when she said that she had nothing but respect for Catherine as a person. And having looked through as much footage as I could of their encounters, I don't believe that she was throwing any shade at all. I just don't. It's incredible what can be contrived and fabricated to create drama out of absolutely nothing. But we will hear from two commenters here, each with their own opinion. Sadie Mizell said, I would not give the snub clip any credence except for the immediate expression on Catherine's face. Look at her face when the woman turned away. Also, the woman, Lisa Hanna, turned immediately back to see the effect of her actions. As a woman, I can tell you that was a snub, and the Duchess felt it. Well, I can absolutely see how you can create that story from looking at that clip, which is snipped off and edited at both ends. But in the context when I watch the footage, the longer footage of them together, the various encounters that they had, they were getting on famously, like a house on fire. Lots of little shared jokes between the two of them, looking at each other, throwing head back, laughing. Well, I've had the same moment, actually, where I've been sort of engaged with someone, and you're getting on and having a chuckle, then you look over and think, oh, they haven't actually registered what I'm saying. You suddenly feel like a bit of a Wally, she didn't get my punchline, he didn't get the punchline. Haven't you ever had those moments? And Lisa Hanna as well, she looks like she could be distracted by all the noise around her. I think it was just a little bit of a timing issue, which I'm sure neither of them actually noticed at the time. I don't believe there was any shade involved at all. But you expressed yourself respectfully there, Sadie dear, so nothing wrong with having a difference of opinion, is there? But I thought it was just for headlines, really. I thought all these reports in the press were nothing but sophistry. Speaking of sophistry, some of you have noted that I use that word a lot. It means a devious argument, for those of you who don't know. That used to be the dictionary definition anyway, because I discovered the word a long time ago when I was studying Three Sisters by Chekhov play. And there's a line in it that translates, well, it translates differently depending on the translator. And the line is, when a man talks philosophy, well, it is philosophy, or at any rate, sophistry. But when a woman or two women talk philosophy, it's not so much sophistry as full of gossipy. So not very politically correct there, but a friend and I used to always chuckle over that line, accuse each other of sophistry and being full of gossipy. So that's where I get that little saying from. Checha21 says it was definitely a manipulated clip and Lisa didn't ignore Catherine. When I saw that, I went on to Lisa Hanna's Instagram and saw the clip. They were laughing and smiling. I do feel, however, that they have an agenda. And yes, I mean, that goes without saying. Certainly not denying that. And as I said, I thought it was verging on rude to accuse William of acting and speaking without courage. Or boldness, as she put it. I thought that was a little rude. And as some of you said, and I forgot to mention, yes, I thought it was extremely bad form when the Prime Minister made his point about his desire of moving on from monarchy as Prince William was standing right next to him. I thought that was entirely ungracious. There are other ways to do that. You're hosting. You are the host country and a leader for it. You don't insult your guest in that way, no matter how important you feel the political point is to be made. I thought that was extremely bad form and reflected so badly on him. There's no reason for him to have said that to Big Willie's face. I realise he probably thought that that was, to be so acidic was the way to get the most headlines. So in that case, props to him, it worked. But character is important. Dignity is important, and that is what was exemplified by William's reaction, which was utterly gracious. People are saying he was bamboozled, wasn't aware that those words were coming from the Prime Minister. But his reaction and response was nothing less than regal and royal. And reading through the lines of many of these headlines that have been coming up, saying that the tour was a PR disaster. Every report I've heard from people on the ground in these nations that have been visited by the royals over the last week, it's been so much enthusiasm, so much delight. And I realise that I have a bias towards the royal family on this channel, but I tried to be fair. And, I'll call out misinformation where I can, but I truly have seen very little actual disparagement for the royals, other than those with a political involvement, small minorities. But the actual islanders themselves seem to have been very glad to host William and Catherine, and it's given the tourism a real boon. It's given the public profile of these places a real boon, but we'll come to that. I'm going to spend a few minutes reading through some of your comments from friends of ours in these islands that the royals have visited, because I found them interesting. I've got to admit to you, they are all positive, so I know it's not really a representative sample. Is that what they call, I'm sure there are many that have bitter opinions towards the royals, and I did ask and invite all opinions, but obviously if you've landed on this channel, the chances are you're going to be a little bit more in favour of royalty than you wouldn't. So I do bear that in mind. I do understand there will be much more criticism for royalty out there, but I can't really help the people I can't help who comments on the channel. And to be honest with you, it was this gorgeous cacophony of voices in support of the royals and with a deep understanding. We had A from Trinidad. Hi from Trinidad. Hello, my dear. Absolutely love your inputs and giving people out there information about the head of state stuff. Yes, I think we spoke about the fact that Trinidad rejected the Queen as head of state in 1976, but remained within the Commonwealth. You say, and nothing wrong with being in the Commonwealth. A lot of Trinidad citizens benefit in awards, etc. from the Queen, in which the international media don't know about or showcase it. Keep being successful. Thank you, my dear. And exactly as you say, my dear, so much goes on behind the scenes, doesn't it? Including things, as you say, awards and schemes that are put together by royalty. I've heard when I mention the word schemes before that apparently, especially across the pond in the Atlantic, that usually denotes something sinister, like a Machiavellian scheme or something. But not so much over here in the kingdom. A scheme can be, like the Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme. It's just a plan, a strategy kind of thing. So thank you for that, A. Dorla Castro says, I'm from Belize and we were proud to have them visit us. I had lots of viewers from Belize actually saying exactly the same thing. And it does invoke a sense of pride, doesn't it? That's the same thing when you see your nation recognised. It's not like some white saviour coming to give you approval. It's simply visitors from a foreign land coming to share and celebrate in your culture and promote it to the rest of the world. Because as you've told me in many of these comments, it's been a real boon for publicity having William and Catherine there, because there's an awful lot, whether it's good or bad, there's an awful lot of interest, mainly good in those two. I mean, who can genuinely, seriously have anything against them? I don't even believe these clowns that say that they have. I mean, nonsense. Garceau says, as a Jamaican, grew up hearing about the royals and recently heard talks that royalty is totally different from celebrity, and that's certainly true. When you see them, you see the vast difference. Sammy M79 says, yes, River, teach them Caribbean history. I've got to admit, you do compliment me on some of the history that I impart to you, but I'm not that much of a boffin when it comes to history. I just, dip in and out here and there, so always do your own research, won't you, dear? So I can only offer you what I know. If I hadn't taken history at secondary school, I would have believed that England and America were the great white demons of slavery. In American schools, they don't go into details with the children that the Spaniards were the first colonizers and that African chiefs sold their own people to the traders for money, gold and other goods. I think she means Spanish were the first colonizers to Jamaica, obviously. There were multi-empires and multi-nations that enslaved people before that. They only teach people what supports their narrative. Reverend, you have St. Lucian family? Yes, I do, a few, and Jamaican. St. Lucia massive. From Bombay, we had Mindoc. In 1947, we got our independence and became a republic in 1950 and are still part of the Commonwealth. I, for one, am proud of being part of the Commonwealth. From Bombay. Catherine Garnett Santiago said, Big Willie definitely had some moves. Yes, he did, didn't he? Got lots of compliments in the comments from you guys with this shaking. This coming from a born and bred Belizean. Hello, Belize. We adore Prince William and Catherine. And it was just comment after comment like this. We adore them, we adore them, we adore them. There was no one there saying, we blame them for the ills of slavery and this, that and the third. Angela Smith. River, I truly enjoy your videos. I'm glad to hear it. I appreciate the history lesson. I am a mix of native country and African descent. I wish we would all move on from this slavery narrative and also from holding the present generation culpable for the decisions of their ancestors. I am proud of who I am, and I wouldn't want me in any other form. Slavery was wrong, but it was the norm at the time, and in many countries it was legal. It is to be noted, and lots of you said this, it is to be noted that there are still many forms of slavery today, and many are illegal. I love William and the strength that Catherine has shown in her growth within the royal family. They are exemplary and a great representation of the future monarch. And yes, a few people mentioned modern slavery. There's this general air and feeling that when we speak about slavery, we're talking about something in the dim and distant past, but recent enough to claim reparations for, and all executed by the British Empire. And nobody is denying that the British Empire was responsible for a great deal of it. But many of you, including people from these countries, pointed out to me how many empires had slaves, how slavery has been a fact of life from ancient times, how it took place in many countries, including in Africa, and how it was the norm, however ghastly we read it now, how it was the norm over every continent, virtually every continent and country. I think what a lot of people are missing, though, and what I what ran through my brain at the time is that so did people here in Britain. Most of the people here, working class, were down mines, suffering in mines. What is it they used to call it? Workhouses, like old Oliver Twist. There was a great deal of poverty, living in the slums, during the time of Queen Victoria's empire as well, when riches were coming into the land. It's not like they were being passed out among the general population, other than sort of landed gentry and those in the upper echelons of society. But just for any thickies among you who are going to suddenly raise objections to whatever I'm saying, just to be quite clear, despite all the horrors on all the other lands that were going on, including England and including the current day, I am not comparing them to the particular horrors that the people of Africa suffered during this particular time that's in discussion and debate. I'm not educated enough to make a comparison, and that's why I've been very happy to hear from people who are direct descendants of these people. But with the question of reparations up in the air, and let's face it, people like Lisa Hanna are going to be calling for them for a long time from the British government, and wanting more statements forthcoming from the royal family. They're gonna be like a dog with the bone with that. But it got me to thinking, what is a really constructive way that could help? And I think that one way of tackling it, or offering a real reckoning to it, is to perhaps take a look at slavery that exists now. Because, I wonder what Lisa Hanna gives thought to when she's going through her, presumably she'll have an Android phone that's been assembled in China or some such country with a strict regime where, in these communist nations perhaps, where all these gizmos are put together by modern day slaves. I mean, what else can you call them? What else could you even call Putin's troops who he sent into Ukraine to their deaths? I've successfully managed to completely avoid, 99.9% avoid the news headlines over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I switched it off. I haven't looked. I don't know what's going on, but occasionally I will get a glimpse. And the last number I saw of casualties, or perhaps I heard it from my father, was 14 or 50. Yeah, I heard it yesterday at lunch. They told me 14 or 15,000 Russian troops are reported to have died in service to a regime. And from reports, and I don't know what's true and what isn't, they weren't really told what was going on. They were told it was a military operation, not a war, that the people of Ukraine would be delighted to see them. I don't know what's true and what isn't. But, if that's, what else can you call those young men that were sent to their deaths? 15,000 of them dying over the last month. Doesn't mean that I have sympathy for the actions that they were doing while they were in Ukraine, but I have, they had no choice over it, from what I learned, from what I hear. They have no choice in the matter. As young army men from Russia, they have to do what they're told, or woe betide. In my opinion, they're slaves of a different kind that were just sent to instant death at the behest of a dictator, simultaneously, of course, ruining the lives of those who they're massacring in Ukraine, and they're massacring that country as well. And I do realise that there are distinctions here. It's not that they're being sold at market as enslaved people were. It's not that they're being indentured in the same way or having their dignity stripped of them in the same way. So before anyone jumps up to try and accuse me of being all kinds of heartless and trying to belittle what happened with slavery, don't warp my words or twist my thoughts, please, because I'm quite clear how abhorrent that entire episode was, and of African slavery, and how it stands apart from many other injustices. My point is that there are lots of injustices which draw a parallel to slavery, but don't exist under the same name, including lots that's going on right now, and some say that it's going on in even wider, broader profusion, and is largely hidden from view, but we see the effects of it in the products that we have all around us and don't even think about. And I'm sure that Lisa Hanna and many of her oh so woke and ride on politicians that are calling for all kind of reparations. I would love to have a rummage through their drawers, wouldn't you, my dear, and their gadgets and their gizmos. And, perhaps I'm wrong, dear, perhaps I'm casting aspersions, but I wonder if the clothes they wear, the hair they wear, this, that, and the fourth, if you really look back to where the resources come from, who's making them? Who's putting their blood, sweat into tears for those items and being paid either very little or virtually zero? Would you be able to hold your head so high when demanding reparations from other societies for the enslavement of your distant ancestors? And I'm not saying I have the answer to all of this, but I think it would be interesting to see the British royal family take a look perhaps at modern slavery and see if there's any work that can be done, as if they haven't got enough work to do already, but if there isn't any work that can be done in that area, which might help atone for some of their ancient history that they're being linked to. Oh, one comment has popped up with an opposing view. Marie Gaither says, "How can Kate be queen of that island? How insulting." Well, you know what? You've got a good point. You do have a point there. If I lived on one of those islands, maybe I would feel it was insulting to have someone from a foreign land come over to say that they represent us as queen. Maybe I would. Or maybe I would take the view of others from those countries who have commented to say that they see it as nothing other than a joyous celebration, shared history. But yes, I'm sure others would agree with you, Maria dear. Christine Joy, why would Prince William apologise? Britain took on a massive debt in order to buy Jamaicans their freedom, a debt which in today's money is the equivalent of £20 billion. Britain was the first country to abolish slavery and came across international condemnation for depriving slave owners of their livelihood. It was a brave move, as slavery was a common practice in every major country in the world at that time. Yeah, I mean, no excuses for what went on, but it is generally acknowledged that Britain was the first to make moves to abolish it. It took almost 20 years for other slavers such as France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands and the USA to follow Britain's example. However, they didn't pay a penny. Jamaicans should go after Spain. Oh dear, Spain's getting a rough ride. Sorry, Spain. Their first colonisers, or indeed their African countrymen who sold them into slavery. That's a point as well. A lot of Africans did sell their own countrymen. Slavery for reparations. Britain bought them their freedom at an enormous cost. The debt was only paid back in 2015. Rachel Offer, River, I congratulate you on a true and honest representation of the tour. Thank you, dear. The history of the empire and the meaning of the Commonwealth of Nations. I personally loved the tour, but was disappointed with the disparaging UK press and the nonsense coming from the Harkle fan base. I don't even watch any of that, dear. It's one of the advantages of not being, I'm not on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, none of it at all. So, I mean, if I'm researching a royal story, I'll Google stuff and I'll look at the royal family account, whatever. So obviously I can acknowledge some things exist, but I don't ever see any of the Harkle sort of nonsense on social media because I'm just not part of that at all, that world. I stay well away from it. I advise anybody to. But I digress. Nonsense coming from the Harkle fan base in the US, much of which the UK press used for sensationalism. The local press in all the countries involved were, in the main, fun, respectful, and showed Catherine and William to be hugely popular. Yeah, that's the impression I got, regardless of what the press say. I love William and think that Catherine's an absolute superstar. Sandra Smith, if reparation is to be done, there will be many countries paying, including North African countries. The Barbary Coast, pirates took people from Europe. Cornwall suffered, as did Ireland. Yeah, a few people said, my Irish viewers said, well, we'll be asking for money from England too. What about the times of the famine? And they've probably got a very good point. My father was taken by Nazi Germany as slave labour. He didn't blame ordinary Germans, and neither do I. That was not 200 years ago, but it's in the past. What happened in the past can't be blamed on people living now. Slavery still goes on, tackled. So thank you so much for your comments, but I do ask if there is anyone, particularly from Jamaica, watching, and I will go through the comments again to see if I missed any with different views to what I've expressed, but if there is anyone there watching who absolutely chimes with Lisa Hanna and thinks, yes, reparations are deserved and needed, I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love to know how much or in what manner you think that they could be awarded. Oh, that's so annoying. It's 5:15 and Marks and Spencer shuts at 5 o'clock, so I don't think I'll be able to get there in time. I was going to quickly run there, stock up on some grub, and then come back and edit this video, but we'll see. Maybe I could sprint. It's one of the benefits of being long-limbed. I can run bloody fast. So off I go. I'll see you very soon. Thank you for tuning in. I'll pop in again soon, I hope, and I hope you will too. Thanks for keeping me company. Behave yourself, be good, be always royal and elegant, and thank you to those of you who have sent me a tip. To the tip jar, ching ching, you're a superstar. Leave me a juicy comment and I'll see you soon. Big kiss.